they're getting really creative with these packages from China. Welcome to the Wicked Gamer Hand Collector. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video I want to take a close look at a Super Arcade Emulator handheld. So in last year I reviewed quite some different handhelds and I love to check out the cheap ones. So this one called by many names. They call it the Super Arcade Emulator, but they also call it the M3S. So this is basically a handheld with AV out function TF card, but it supports 10 plus emulator platforms. So it's not running on Apodingus. So let's take a close look what's inside the box. Okay guys, so inside the box we're going to get the normal stuff like we're having with a lot of these cheap handhelds. So we're going to get an USB cable. This time it's a micro USB for charging the internal battery. We're going to get an AV out cable. Sadly we're only having two signals out, so one for the audio and one for the video, so we're going to have mono sound. It's going to be some choppy image, but we're going to grab ourselves an old television and check it out. And not to forget, the toilet paper manual, like always, with some quick explanation. Is it even in English? Yes it is. How it works, and if you have any questions you can always check it out. Volume control, all the things, how it works. But okay, let's take a close look at the handheld, because this is where you came for. Okay, so the design is completely new and this has never been released so far, I know. And I've seen some shitty handhelds in my life, but then it's the question, how good is this one? Because surprisingly, some of these cheap handhelds are pretty decent to enjoy, and most of the time we can't complain for our money. You know, that's the thing I'm always saying, because this time I paid around 25, it was 25 bucks for it. So you cannot expect the world, because normally when you're paying, let's say, for a decent handheld around $50 now, and then you're going to get an IPS display, and this one doesn't have it, of course. The analog switch is over here on the left side, so we're going to get a D-pad, and a really horrible analog stick, or we can even remove it if you want to. It's more like the slider joystick that I've seen with the PSP. Then we're having stick buttons, select, start, and we're having a home button over here. And what I do like about this is the nice RGB light up at the back. Okay, so this is what you're going to get with the layout. There is no shoulder buttons whatsoever or back buttons. So yeah, 6 button is what we're going to get. Let's go. Okay, so you know, most of these handhelds are just a horrible, really horrible slider joystick. But the D-pad, that is a different story. Because this thing feels super sturdy. I have never felt a sturdier D-pad like this. And like I say, that is not a good thing. So the buttons have just this cheap touch, like always, because it's a very cheap handheld. And at the front over here we're going to get just one speaker. It's quite loud. And here at the bottom you can see we're having the volume control if my camera wants to focus. Okay, so on the top we're going to get the micro USB for charging, and we're having an AV out port for the signal out. And like many of these cheap handhelds, we're just going to get a very cheap LCD display. Got a pretty poor view angle with a low resolution, so don't expect the best IPS displays coming in these cheap devices. Hey guys, for the money, it's sometimes a miracle they can make things like this. So when it comes to these devices, don't expect too much from it, especially the display. Okay, so when booted up, this is the menu. Here at the bottom row you can see all the systems that we're having. So we're having NES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Super Famicom, Megadrive, Capcom, or Mame, CPS 1 and 2, Neo Geo, and Mame. So this is where we're going to get when it comes to basically all the menus. So sadly it's a different language, so let's change it out in English. Yep, there we go. Okay, very well. So the next thing that we need to do is try to change it in English and keep it this way. Alright, very nice. Press the home button for going back. Power settings, we can basically have more like a power saving option for the display. So this is what you're going to get when it comes to the options. So we're having these thumbnails, we can't change it out. It's more like the common thing with these cheap handhelds. And if you, by the way, format your card, you are basically having a problem. Because as far as I know, the display will not change with different games. It's just stuck what you're going to get, what you see. And it's a little bit of a bummer in my opinion. So a problem with these handhelds, by the way, is that sometimes we're having some lost files on it. And the files that are reloaded on the system are just in a completely different language. And there's a little bit of a bummer in my opinion. So another great feature nowadays that we can have a quick load, quick save, even with the cheap handhelds. But it's more like in one slot, so you don't have multiple slots to choose from. Sadly, that is what you need to live with. because we're not going to get any better something like, okay, it froze, okay, now it saves, but then we're not going to get anything better than this with a cheap handheld. So let's play a little bit. Let's just take a close look at this game. The sound is not bad at all with this machine. Okay guys, so when you're going to get with these cheap handhelds, especially when you're going to play some GBA, we're going to get some screen tearing, and we're going to get some choppy emulation. Okay, so let's play a little bit and we'll show you what I mean. I know you're feeling that the D-pad is freaking sturdy, like, oh man, it's horrible. Come on! So, fun fact with this game is that if you're listening very close to the soundtrack, it doesn't sound that bad. All the sound effects are here. What the hell is this for game? Really? Okay, so this game is quite interesting. It's not running on the perfect speed, because I did play this game a lot in the arcades, but it's still enjoyable in my opinion. Oh, I got shot. Okay guys, so let's try a short game. And I must say, if you're looking at the signal output, even on LCD it doesn't look that bad. Oh crap, I pressed the wrong button. Yeah, I know. Get the treasure, get the goodies. Yes, thank you. Okay, just easy. Because I'm a noob. Now you can especially see that the image is really washed out in combination that the gameplay is quite choppy. But it actually works, and what's more like quite surprising that this cheap handheld is a decent EV out. Alright guys, so for you who loves to do a teardown or just want to see what's inside, I'm especially going to open it up. I'm going to break the seal, because until you was already void. Because when you're ordering stuff like this from China and your dispute time is over, you don't have any warranty left. If you didn't know, now you know. Okay, so all the 6 sparkers have been removed. Alright, they're not falling out, all of them. So we're gently going to open it up. Alright. So I just wanted to show you what are we going to get in the inside and how interesting is it. So the RGB lighter feature you're seeing here, there is just a separate PCB for this. So quite interesting that you're able to make something like this for this amount of money. And ooh man, these wires, be very gentle. Oh man, if you're going to rip them, your LED function is just dead in the water. Okay, so we can find already some chips here, but it seems to be there is no information on this. So we're going to remove these screws over here so we can check out which is on the other side beside the LCD display. And man, they tighten up these Parker very tight. Okay, so taking them down apart, it's not a really big of a deal. Couple of Parkers, and of course don't forget the analog stick like I did. But in the end, what you see is this is what you're going to get. There are not a lot of components in there. They are still using these very cheap and very horrible cheap membrane stuff for the buttons. And I wouldn't say that will give it an extra cheap feel, but I can say that these things, they do work. For how long, I don't know. But I did read that people were not very happy with these things. Nevertheless, what can you expect for a cheap handheld? Okay, so the Super Arcade Emulator. And man, this is not really super if you ask me. It's just a cheap handheld and has the capabilities of running quite some different systems. And don't expect a lot of things from this handheld. Is this an hidden gem? Oh, no, I wouldn't say it really in hidden gem whatsoever. But yeah, you need to take consideration when you're going to get in the era of very cheap Chinese handhelds. This is the best that you're going to get. And I'm still very surprised in my opinion, especially with some of these features of the handheld. But then overall, not all the systems are running very good. It doesn't have an IPS display. It got only a couple of hours of battery life, so it's not a superb deal. And by the way, the battery cannot be easily replaced. So there are a lot of things that they messed up in my opinion. So the Super Arcade Emulator, I needed to pick it up to show you here, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, become one of the Wicked family, and I will see you in the next video.